Greetings, everyone, and welcome to The Reckoning. My name is Johnny Cornegay, and I'm happy that you decided to join us. The Reckoning is a program of CMP, also known as the Counter Narrative Project. Be sure to subscribe, follow CMP on social media at CMP Tribe, and join our email list on our website at thecounternarrative.org. Following a series of videos on social media, which included anti-LGBTQIA plus statements, basketball player Jaden Ivey was waived by the Chicago Bulls after a very short stint with the team. We have some amazing folks joining us to unpack what has been going on with Jaden Ivey, including Charles Stevens, Executive Director of CNP, and Joseph Williams, journalist, political analyst, and essayist who's also written about sports for The Reckoning. Charles and Joe, thanks for being here with me to talk about this today.
Good to be here.
So, Joe, I'm going to start with you. So, I set this up to kind of let folks know what happened with Jaden Ivey. But if you could take us back a bit and really talk to us about who Jaden Ivey was and what actually happened. What's the situation here?
Well, good to be here, Charles, and good to see you too, Johnny. Basically, Jaden Ivey was a top performer. He was a star really at Purdue University, and in the 2023 draft, I believe, was the number 5 draft pick, which he was like one of the top players chosen overall in the first round. He got drafted by the Detroit Pistons, spent a couple of years there, broke his ankle, or rather broke his tibia, and was sidelined for the season, which was really kind of frustrating for him, as he's described. Now, somewhere between his second season, this season, and now, he was traded from the Detroit Pistons to the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls got him in a pretty big player swap. Somebody they felt could contribute to their team, somebody they thought really high of, a young athlete, really has a tremendous upside. The problem was he was injured during his last stint with the Pistons, and when he landed with the Bulls, he had a sore knee that kept him out of action, and he was doing rehab. But somewhere between Detroit, his plane lifting off in Detroit and landing in Chicago, he underwent this kind of epiphany where he feels like he declares that he's been saved by Jesus Christ. He starts proselytizing, not only in the locker room, but also on social media. And a couple of those posts really caught the attention of the Chicago Bulls management, and they decided to summarily fire him. Now, the big picture here is that this is nothing new. We've had star players in the NBA who have been accused of homophobic language. They tend to get fined. The league will fine them like $30, $40, $50,000, depending on the severity of the offense and depending on the circumstances of the offense. This is the first time I can recall where a player was dismissed, basically got fired, because of some of the things that he said on social media and because of how he conducted himself in the locker room. So his saga continued that not only after he was dismissed from the Bull, he kept going on social media and kept talking about how he did not like Pride and how the NBA was leading into Pride Month and it was heresy. He felt like it was something that should not even be condoned. And that rant kind of continued after the Bulls dismissed him for what they called conduct detrimental to the team. Now, that's anytime you're in a locker room situation and players either feel uncomfortable around you or you're doing harmful things like bringing guns to the locker room. That's the sort of category they placed him in when they decided to fire him. So now he's still on social media. He's done a couple of podcast interviews, still maintaining that he is a disciple of Christ and that because he is a disciple of Christ, anything related to LGBTQ is an abomination, and anything the league does to promote it is harmful and injurious to the world at large.
Mm. Joe, you said something really interesting that I want to dive into a little bit, and talking about how this has happened previously, right? Where a player may share homophobic or transphobic statements and they have been fined. Can you give us a little bit of that history of how the NBA has handled stuff like this in the past? And what do you think, if you could like look into this, why do you think this is different?
Well, certainly it's been an unfortunate part of the NBA's history that players have used transphobic language, like the F word in an argument with a fan or a referee. There was a gay referee who was, one of the players on the floor used the F word to him, I think knowing that he was gay. He came out later afterwards, and he retired from the league. But star players, superstar players, Kevin Durant, who was like one of the league MVPs and is certain to end up in the Hall of Fame, has been accused of using homophobic language, was fined $50,000 by the league. Anthony Edwards, a star player for the Minnesota Timberwolves, he was recorded using transphobic language, got fined $40,000. The difference here, though, is you have a one-off where either a player is arguing with a fan or beefing at a referee or arguing with another player. This situation with Jaden Ivey is different in that he is repeatedly using this kind of language. He is condemning an entire class of people rather than one individual, which was the case in the other two examples that I cited. And his ongoing proselytizing, not only outside the locker room, but likely inside the locker room, is what probably got him into trouble.
Thank you for sharing a bit of that context. I want to zoom out for a second and talk a little bit about Jaden's how other players have been reacting to this as well, so that folks can understand a little bit of that context. Has he been being supported? Has he been being condemned? Like, what's that been looking like so far?
Well, so far he's been getting some guarded sympathy from a lot of players, not saying that they condone what he said or what he is saying, because even after he was dismissed from the Bulls, he kept on doing these live social media tweets and doing podcast interviews. Most of them are saying, listen, this brother is struggling. We hope he gets the help that he needs. There was one interesting tweet from a star running back with the New England Patriots who actually tweeted back at something that at one of Ivey's social media posts, a biblical verse talking about those who are persecuted on earth will receive everlasting life in heaven. So it's been largely publicly sympathetic and suggesting that he gets the help that he needs. But there is suggestions that there's an undercurrent of players who might actually agree with him, but aren't really going to be able to say so because they value their jobs and their livelihood.
What do you think's next for him?
It's hard to say. He says that he's going to continue rehabbing, working on his knee that was injured and trying to become a better player. It's hard to see any team in the league wanting to touch him now, though, because he seems very much fixated on his being saved as a son of Christ and proselytizing his religion. So it's hard to see whether or not any U.S. NBA team will touch him, mainly because it sets such a bad example, and it's a month ahead of Pride Month, which is one of the centerpieces of the league, and they really try to make that shine. What's likely to happen is he would go overseas and make some money there, playing in European leagues where they probably really don't care what he says, because they're just getting a good star American player that can put fans in the seats.
You know, it's before we went live, we were talking about, I guess what's called the loneliness epidemic with particularly with with young men and men in general. And one of the things that came up for me was, what is the appeal of Christian nationalism? What is the appeal of, just some aspects of conservatism to young men today? Joe, did you have any thoughts about that?
Well, what's interesting about Ivey's case, and a lot of cases, I mean, as a former athlete, I've seen a lot of men go through this sort of thing, become fervently religious for a lot of different reasons. But consider where Ivey was. He was a young man coming into a league where there's a lot of stuff coming at you all at once. On the court, you have to be perfect. Off the court, there's temptation every 5 seconds. People offering you money, drugs, gamblers floating about. So in a league where people are kind of uncertain about where they belong, or if you are uncertain about where you belong, that kind of fundamental religion offers an anchor, right? It's something that deals in absolutes. You must do this to be saved. You must be against this to be a member of Christ. And in a world of uncertainty, it makes perfect sense to a certain cast of individuals. Now, zooming back out in a male loneliness space, you see it a lot with the bro culture, where men must be men and men cannot show feelings. They can't do this, they can't do that. it's all grounded in certitude in an uncertain world, right? So when you have so many things that are ambiguous and so many things coming at you that you're not really sure what to believe or who to trust, this offers some measure of grounding. Not saying it's right, but it's easier to believe in something as fundamental as the written word in the Bible as it is to kind of question the nature of man, where you wonder where we came from and all these ambiguous questions. So I think that certainly his injuries probably caused Jaden to go down this path. Remember, he was a high draft pick. A lot was expected of him. And he had the frustration of not only being injured, but also being ditched by his current team, traded to another team, which can be kind of an indicator of value. And Ivey himself said that he has struggled with depression. He talked about on a podcast, talked about contemplating suicide, talked about abusing drugs and alcohol, not drugs, I beg your pardon. He talked about abusing alcohol, but also certainly said he was addicted to pornography. And you take those three things like sex, alcohol, pornography, that's in a nutshell what a lot of men struggling with loneliness turn to try to alleviate those feelings.
How do you think we that have obviously more progressive, that are more progressives, obviously as a queer person, but how do we make the case? How do we create a space that might be appealing to more allies, essentially? Like, I guess what I'm wondering is that it seems like there's been almost like a backlash toward a lot of the progress we've made, particularly around LGBTQIA plus rights. And did you have any thoughts about how we can create more spaces that might basically win people over to our side, essentially, rather than make them martyrs?
Sure. It's really challenging in an athletic context, right? Because you're dealing with a team, you're dealing with a culture, and anybody who stands out or deviates from that culture generally either will be frowned upon, will be hazed, might even be dismissed, right? Now, Ivey is one extreme example of that on the other side. But on the progressive side, we have not had a single NBA player come out as gay since Jason Collins in 2014. And Ivey's comments, I think, are a symptom of a much larger problem, and that is that even for all of its LGBTQ positive attempts to try to be more welcoming, the NBA still cannot get rid of this problem because you're dealing with grown men making lots and lots of money in a competitive environment. So locker rooms are among the toughest places to win allies. Certainly they are there. In one of his posts, he talked about Steph Curry, and Steph Curry, by all means, is a Christian, but is a progressive Christian. So that's one way to try to start to peel these young men away, particularly in a locker room context, is show them that a superstar athlete has a positive view of LGBTQ issues, is an ally, and is still yet one of the best players the league has produced and likely a Hall of Famer. That being said, the other avenue that's probably most likely to open minds and hearts is to talk about loneliness, is to talk about how you can delve into these feelings and not be an other, right? You can explore how you feel about people. You can explore how this is not something that should be condemned. After all, a lot of interpretations of the Bible talk about love, loving everyone. And the fundamentalist viewpoint of that is that that's not even close to being true. But if you have somebody who could talk in his language, speak in biblical verse, and try to change his mind about what he believes about gay and lesbian people, that's pretty much the best opening that you can expect to have with somebody with a fundamentalist viewpoint.
Thank you so much for that, Joe. And before we wrap today's session, I do want to have you talk a bit about mental health support in the NBA, because one of the things that was striking to me as I was getting ready for this is I pulled up some of the videos that Jaden had recorded, and it felt to me that he was just struggling, like that he needs some support, therapy, maybe, whatever that might look like. What does that look like in the NBA right now? Do players have access to mental health services?
Players have increased access to mental health services than they did even 5 years ago, mainly because it's surfaced as an issue again and again and again. You have former players talking about the mental toll it takes on them to perform night after night after night in one city, another city, a third city, not to mention having to be expected to be perfect on the court and not yield to temptation off of it. So the league has taken great pains to make it accessible. The one problem that they keep falling into, the one trap that has not been able to be solved, is how men talk about it amongst themselves. In the locker rooms, strength is valued. Talking about feelings and how you perceive something is weakness. So a lot of players have come out and talked about this, but it's going to take a lot more work to change the culture to where a player feels not only safe, but also okay to go seek mental health. Until then, it's going to continue to be a problem, and we will still see issues like Jaden Ivey pop up from time to time.
Well, Joe and Charles, thanks so much for joining here on The Reckoning today, and thanks all of you for tuning in for today's conversation. So be sure to subscribe to CMP at CMP Tribe on social media and join our email list at thecounternarrative.org. And make sure you subscribe here on YouTube as well. If you're seeing this video and you like what this is doing, we have other videos that do the same thing. Thank you all so much for joining us. Joe and Charles, thank you. And we will talk to everyone soon.